So it's another day in America, which means it's another day that Donald Trump decided to wake up and boldly ask, what can he do to make our lives marginally worse today? Remember, this was the president elected to lower costs. He was going to get inflation down. He was the peace president who was going to settle the wars, put everything behind us, and move us into a better direction. And instead, he instituted tariffs that make things even more expensive. Israel's atrocities in Gaza continue unabated. Russia is still invading Ukraine. And as a matter of fact, instead of stopping wars, he's trying to start a new one against his own citizens. Here's what Donald Trump wrote in a Truth Social post this morning. At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I'm directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Just a Saturday morning declaration of war against American citizens, and there is literally no other way to read that. In any other time, this would be an impeachable offense. War-ravaged Portland? I mean, I don't even know what is going on in Portland, okay? I don't know what it is, but I don't think a bunch of hipsters with septum rings drinking a beer is considered a war zone now. He's insane, he's power hungry, and he's trying to foment violence. This is all Donald Trump does. He's trying to send force into a situation where there isn't any need for it, knowing full well that his heavy-handedness will incite a reaction, and then he will get to respond to that reaction, and we will go round and round and circle this drain until you have American troops firing on American citizens. Literally creating an imaginary terror group in his head and then sending in the US military to fight that imaginary enemy. And here's how one of the senators from Oregon, Ron Wyden, responded. Trump is launching an authoritarian takeover of Portland, hoping to provoke conflict in my hometown. I urge Oregonians to reject Trump's attempt to incite violence in what we know is a vibrant and peaceful city. I will do everything in my power to protect the people in our state. And here's footage from outside the ICE facility in Portland right now. Does it look under siege to you? Does it look like the United States military needs to be deployed to protect that facility right now? No, of course not. And it's not just that Trump and his MAGA lackeys are declaring war on the United States, on the American people. They're also declaring war on American history. And we've seen a lot of those attacks on American history in the past week, and it goes hand in hand with their attempts to militarize the country, to do these brutal ICE raids and deportations, because fundamentally their heavy-handedness and authoritarianism has nothing to do with law and order. It's about remaking America in their vision, which, make no mistake, is a white supremacist, Christian nationalist vision. And that's what we got this week with Pete Hegseth, the Kegstan secretary, aka the Secretary of War, coming out with this announcement that the soldiers at the Battle of Wounded Knee are going to keep their medals of honor.
Former Secretary Lloyd Austin, for whatever reason, I think we know he was more interested in being politically correct than historically correct, chose not to make a final decision. Such careless inaction has allowed for their distinguished recognition to remain in limbo until now. Under my direction, we're making it clear without hesitation that the soldiers who fought in the Battle of Wounded Knee in 1890 will keep their medals, and we're making it clear that they deserve those medals. This decision is now final, and their place in our nation's history is no longer up for debate. We salute their memory, we honor their service, and we will never forget what they did.
Now, if you're unfamiliar, the Battle of Wounded Knee is actually remembered as the Wounded Knee Massacre, because that's what it was. It was a slaughter of mostly unarmed Native Americans, many of whom were women and children, by the United States military. And that is not just my woke mind virus saying that. The United States has apologized for that massacre. In 1990, both houses of Congress passed a resolution on the historical centennial of the massacre, expressing regret for what happened. I mean, the story is just horrific. We're talking mass graves of civilians, of Native American civilians. And despite what Secretary Kegstan's implication is with this announcement, I actually agree with his assertion that there is no matter of historical debate here. It was an atrocity. It was a diabolical atrocity. And the fact that more soldiers in that massacre got medals of honor than soldiers who fought in World War II in Normandy got medals of honor is insane. And the whole thing is a grave injustice. But again, you know what? I know nobody cares what a woke liberal like myself thinks. So if you don't want to take it from me, take it from Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security herself, who we just learned, by the way, is directing an invasion of American cities. Hardly a woke warrior. The woman who shot a puppy in the head, let's take a look what she said about Wounded Knee just 2 years ago when she was governor of North Dakota.
It talks about certain divisive topics, and one of the little subsections says there shouldn't be any topic that a student induces anguish in a student. And yet, when we learn about like Wounded Knee, shouldn't a student feel a little bit of anguish about that terrible chapter in American history?
Absolutely. Wounded Knee was horrific, and our students should absolutely learn about the atrocities that happened there. In fact, I've been working with that tribe for years to try to get a true memorial built there that attracts people from around the world to come to Wounded Knee and learn about the terrible things that have happened there. So I'm hopeful at some point the tribe will come to the table and work with me to do that, because I think that's something the state could partner with them on.
I mean, there it is. Just 2 years ago, this thing was so horrendous that even she can call a massacre a massacre. And it is truly a reminder of just how far this country has fallen in just a few short years, really just in months since this administration took over, where we're just completely relitigating some of the most basic historical facts about this country now. The history of slavery being removed from museums because it makes people uncomfortable. And it makes no sense to me, because I don't understand why someone would be uncomfortable or feel insulted by slavery. It happened. We should learn from history. But again, as they say, a hit dog hollers. If you are insulted by how museums depict white supremacy, it's probably because you yourself are a white supremacist. And let's be real, this is the guiding principle of the Trump administration. Unrepentant white supremacy. If white people did it, it's good, even if it was the slaughter of women and children. And on the other hand, if you're not white, everything you do needs to be called into question. It was clearly DEI, and all your accomplishments should be stripped from you. And guys like Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller are the epitome of this white supremacist belief system. They are deeply insecure, weak men who feel like they're losing their grip on power. And they may be some of the worst offenders in this administration, but frankly, the tone starts at the top. And if you want an example of the tone from this week, just look at Donald Trump, brain leaking out of his ear, venom dripping off of his spray tan tongue, talking about a black congresswoman.
Jasmine Crockett recently.
Jasmine Crockett. Remember what I said? Is she a relation to the late, great Davy Crockett? I don't think so. Jasmine Crockett, let me tell you, before you even ask, she's a very low IQ person. I mean, if we ever had to pass an aptitude test, that's the one should take one, because she shouldn't even be in the crowd. So I have no idea what you're going to, but I don't think we should waste our time. This is a low IQ person who I can't even believe is a congressperson, between her and Ilhan Omar and the group. I met the head of Somalia. Did you know that? And I suggested that maybe he'd like to take her back, and he didn't want her. He said, "I don't want her." Okay, what else? Go ahead. Let's hear what Crockett said. Go ahead.
She compared ICE raids to slave patrol. I want to ask you.
To slave?
To slave patrol. I want to ask you if you think that there should be consequences for members of Congress who make these types of comparisons or use this language.
Well, I think she's gone over the line.
Yeah, Jasmine Crockett is low IQ, says the guy who seemingly can't read and can't even complete a sentence at this point. How did she become a congresswoman? Donald Trump asks. The man who became president off the strength of such incredible rhetorical arguments such as everything's computer or everyone's transgender. Calling a black congresswoman unqualified when your Secretary of Defense is a alcoholic Fox News host. And as anyone with eyes can tell, the only qualification to get hired in your administration is being completely loyal to you. And again, I don't want to lose the forest for the trees here, because it's all a distraction. A distraction from Donald Trump's own failures, from his failure to deliver for the American people, to lower costs, to do anything that would make our lives better, but also a distraction from the Epstein files and Donald Trump's own criminality and the criminality of his entire family, which is profiting off of corruption right now, making billions while the American people are left holding the bag. But if you take a look at state-run media, you won't hear that. What will you hear, as a matter of fact, if you listen to Fox News?
The president has proven himself to be a cultural icon, too. Remember when he drove the garbage truck during his 2024 presidential campaign? Or when he served French fries at a McDonald's drive-thru? Still no word if he was named Employee of the Month, but he has my vote. Larry break.
Yeah, thanks guys. Still doing this Dear Leader coverage while Donald Trump is like 30 points underwater and nobody can afford to buy eggs. At a certain point, it just becomes comedy. And for more fair and balanced coverage, I'm gonna start watching North Korean state TV.